Testing, testing, testing. How do I sound? How do I look? Hello there. This is Christie from Dostoevsky in Space. Today I'm here with my November wrap-up and my December TBR. Oh my gosh. What? 2020 is almost over. Since I'm filming this a little bit early, I'm going to talk about first some of the things that I would like to finish this month before the end of November. So first of all is this video. Then I have a Rhythm of War reaction video that I would really like to get up. It's part 1. Hopefully that will be up a few days after this one. Ugh. Don't mind the knee. It's also part of me. So it's appearing on screen for maybe the first time on this channel. Hey, I'm so silly tonight. Oh my gosh. I'm also finishing up Romantic Outlaws by Charlotte Gordon, which is amazing. I'm listening to the audiobook as well by Susan Lyons. It's a very readable nonfiction. I'm really enjoying it. I had a wonderful discussion with Leslie at the Nerdy Narrative. It was so much fun just chatting with Leslie. Leslie is a wonderful person anyway. If you add in a really wonderful book that's been an epiphany for her, it was just a great conversation. And I can't wait to have another conversation at the end of the month when all of everybody who is reading this book together, actually I think it's December 2nd, will be discussing the book. And yeah, it's a really great book. So far I've read the first half, and it talks a lot about the romantic ideals of Mary Wollstonecraft and Mary Shelley, her daughter. This is a dual biography of the two Marys. We're following Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, Mary Wollstonecraft, and her lover, later her husband, Lord Byron, all the romantic youngsters, and kind of the difficulties that they faced trying to live out their ideals. It's been fascinating to learn about their ideals and why they had those ideals. I've always kind of been aren't the romantics a little bit silly? However, I'm understanding it better now, where they were coming from when they came up with these ideals. The lives of women were pretty much hard work and drudgery. There were no laws against beating them.
Hey, it's editor Christie. I found the quote in the book Romantic Outlaws that describes the situation of women during Mary Wollstonecraft's time, which explains perfectly why she and even her daughter, Mary Shelley, were not keen on the idea of marriage in England at this time. This chapter is from 1783 to 1785 is when this was taking place. Mary Wollstonecraft knew that her sister was being abused by her husband. However, it's kind of hard to deal with the situation because, listen to this, institutionalization was a common enough solution for wives who were troublesome, as English law granted husbands absolute power in marriage. A wife was not allowed to own anything. She had no legal rights of any kind. Without legal protection, women were vulnerable to all sorts of abuse. Husbands could beat their wives and declare them insane. If a wife tried to flee, her husband had the right to bring her back by force. A man could starve his wife and keep her locked indoors. He could also prevent her from seeking medical care or from having visitors who might help ease her suffering. Looking for this quote in here that compared the legal rights of women to the legal rights of livestock to not be beaten. And livestock had more right to safety than wives did. I wish I could find that quote because it was just a head spinner.
I can understand why women would not want to be involved in a marriage contract at this time, because essentially it takes away all of your rights as a person. And women didn't really have that many rights anyway. It felt like the death of your personhood, essentially, because it pretty much was, according to the law. And according to a lot of men who abused their authority. I'm sorry, but they did. There was no birth control, so it was just babies and babies and babies and drudgery and work and more babies, getting beaten, more babies. There was 0.2 jobs that women could do to support themselves as independent women. We know that Jane Austen didn't want to get married because it would have been impossible for her to also write with all the babies and babies and babies and babies. And that was later, after this point. At the same time, we're seeing what happens in a relationship without the commitment of marriage, which is that the men are here for the sex and gone as soon as the babies come along. And we see this over and over again, even within the tight-knit group of the romantics, and it's really sad to watch. I'm sure there's things that this book isn't really talking about. I'm absolutely positive that's always the way it is when you're reading work of history. It's not always going to tell you the entire story. It's going to tell you the narrative it wants you to know. So you have to do your research and read other books. I get all that. I still want to slap like every man in this book. They're terrible. They don't care about their wives. They don't care about their children. It's just a really bad place for women to have to survive. So this has been informative. I understand now where the romantics are coming from at this period in history. It's because marriage as an institution sucked at this period in history. I know people say it's a protection for women, and that's totally true, because the women who didn't get married and had babies outside of marriage, they usually regretted it because they had no support then when the men decided to run off and sleep with someone else. Then they've been outcasts of society and now they have no support of their husband. So what happens? They die or commit suicide, usually. So many people commit suicide, even though it was against the law. It was like a mortal sin, which just tells you how hopeless they felt about their situation. Life was freaking hard. I'm glad I didn't live then. So anyways, that's been cheery. But really though, I'm really enjoying learning about this. I think it's partly so engaging because it's told about people rather than events. We're following the lives of people very closely, and it's like a soap opera. So much so that you get mad at people in the book. We're also seeing the development of their ideals, of their most famous works of fiction, like Frankenstein. And it's fascinating. It's doing exactly what I hoped, which is I wanted to understand the Romantic movement. I definitely feel like I'm getting it better now. Thank you for discussing it with me, Leslie. That was so much fun. Okay. I've also gotten, several thousand words up in NaNoWriMo, over 16,000. I always want to do better. I tried my best this month. Some things happened this month that took up my writing time. I just can't be mad about it because one, I can't help, and the other is that I got a job working at the library and doing videos for their YouTube channel. So it's pretty hard to feel ungrateful for that. If you want to see my first or second video, they're up here. Go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel if you like book hauls, because that's pretty much exclusively what I do on this channel at the moment. Talking about all the new books that show up at the library. New book hauls! I also finished Oathbringer. I will share most of my thoughts on that in the live stream for Stormlong 2020 with my Bridge 4, Michael, Ryan, Victoria. Oh, and Kristen, Ryan's wife, of course. She's gonna be there for the epic finale to Stormlong 2020. The finale. The finale is here. The feels. I did not enjoy about one half of this book as much as I wanted to. Like, I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it as much as I liked the first two. If you are going to write a 1,200 page book and there's a significant amount of pages that I just didn't really care for, you're gonna get a pretty low rating because I had to read a lot of pages I didn't like. It's a passing grade. But I am glad that I reread it because I remembered like nothing from it. When I was reading Rhythm of War, I kept running across things and being like, Michael, what is this? And he'd be like, read Oathbringer. So I finally did it, and I'm glad that I did it because there were things that I had forgotten. And now I'm understanding Rhythm of War much better. Okay, Rhythm of War Part 1. I just finished Part 1 like an hour ago. I'm so emotional about it. I don't even want to say anything. You're just gonna have to watch the vlog if you want to hear my thoughts. I am passionate about it already. Oh, and the Chronic Illness Devotional. I am loving this Chronic Illness Devotional so much. I'm reading it with Kate from Kate Howe and Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf. And those ladies are so insightful. I love hearing what they have to say and what this Esther Smith person has to say because they all have like really deep thoughts and I'm just like, yeah, I'm just kind of getting through it. I didn't realize how much I had left to process. But so far, what it has really helped me with is opening up a little bit about it with some close friends. I feel like the more open people are about chronic illnesses, the better in general, because people want to understand these things. And all of my Stormlong friends at one point this last week were like, are you doing okay? So I just shared little bits and it was nice because they know then kind of where I am. I don't want to wear people out with it. I mean, everybody's got their problems, but talking about it a little bit I think is okay. Obviously, you don't want to send sobby voxes about it, which not guilty. I haven't sent sobby voxes about that. Mostly only about Kaladin, but I'm not going to tell you why because that would be spoilers. Regardless, this book is wonderful. It's helping me process, and I'm loving it. Okay, moving on. Man's Search for Meaning. I love this book. This Is this my favorite book of the month? This one gets an A+++ for me. Oh, I should say, like, okay, Rhythm of War Part 1. I'm not going to give that a letter grading. Hey, I'll rate my nano novel F+, unfinished. Moving on. Oh, yeah, okay, no, I don't need to move on yet. I wanted to tell you guys about this amazing book. I think I actually wrote a review of this, maybe? Dang, it's not in here, and I'm too lazy to go looking for it. Okay, so I'm just gonna try and go off the top of my head. Never a good idea. This is written by Viktor E. Frankl. He was a Jew who survived the Holocaust and invented logotherapy. He's a psychiatrist, and his method of treatment, called logotherapy, is to help people find meaning in their lives. He's like, that's the most important drive to humans, is to find meaning in their life. It's not sex of various sorts. Psychotherapy. Yeah. This is an alternative to the Freud. It's an alternative to Freud. God, I'm sucking. There are so many fantastic quotes in here. Oh, he quotes Dostoevsky. Okay, that's one reason to love him. There was only one thing that I dread, not to be worthy of my sufferings. Amen, brother. Viktor Frankl's whole goal is to keep people from committing suicide. Because in the camps, he saw it again and again and again, where people would just give up on their lives and commit suicide because they did not have anything left to live for. And he would be like reminding them of people back home, you know, who's relying on you? What work do you have to contribute to the world still? I think he as a person is not opposed to religion. I think he's a religious guy. He doesn't cloak any of this in religious language, however, because he knows that not everybody who needs to find meaning in their life has a religion. So it's really just interesting to hear my ideals in a lot of ways expressed without the language that I would use to express them. He is trying to keep people from committing suicide because he believes people are all individually unique and important individuals. And he doesn't want them gone from the earth before their time. So he's trying to help them stay. And he just sounds like a wonderful guy, and I want to like read everything he's ever written. But that's not gonna happen because I can't read German. I really should have some more quotes here for you guys because there's just so many good ones. He calls nihilism a mass neurosis of the present time. Thank you. He finds meaning in suffering. That's what he helps people do, is to help them find meaning in suffering. There's so many good things in here. So the first half is about his experiences in the Nazi death camps. The second half is talking about logotherapy in his theories. And it's so good. I should have prepared a better review for you guys because this really deserves it. But I did have a great conversation with my lady friends about this. It was, yeah, my favorite read of the month. I mean, how else can I express that? Go read it. It's short. It's super short. Just go read it. It's not like a fun read, but it's fascinating and not long. Okay, it's 175 pages. And like, these are like little pages and the text is decently sized. I mean, it's not going to take you very long. You could listen to the audiobook if you wanted, although I recommend grabbing a copy of it as well and just kind of catching up once in a while, kind of skimming up to where you listened to, because sometimes you can miss things on audiobook and you don't want to miss any of that. It's so good. Okay, I've read like 5 of 7 of the Russian short stories for A Very Russian Christmas. Woo! Which is part of A Very Foreign Christmas that I'm doing with the Codex Cantina. So excited! I have read 5 of 7 of them because I wanted to get going on the vlog so that I could have it out to you before the end of January. So I have vlogged several of the stories so far. I'm going to be vlogging some Russian food. I've tried and failed the same recipe twice because apparently I can't read, even though I'm a booktuber professionally. I'll just say this, apparently you can't buy fresh sour cream at Safeway. And I live in a farming community. Anyways, so I've read the story by Teffy, 2 stories by Dostoevsky, one of which I loved, and the Codex Cantina, like, Una did not love it. I'm really interested to hear his thoughts on that one because I thought it was a riot and it hurt all the feels, but it's a short story, so, you know, you can kind of suck it up, Christie.
Okay, I also read the Tolstoy one, which I loved. I haven't read the Gogol one yet. What am I missing? Like, I'm missing like 4 other stories. I don't know. I've read a bunch of them, though.
I'll just, like, rate him right... No, scratch that. I'm not going to rate him. It's not December yet. Come back in December. Stay tuned to hear my thoughts on the stories. I've also gotten over halfway through Robinson Crusoe, the audiobook, because my library has a classics book club. It's with like a very good friend of mine and coworker. I've known her since I was like 14, and she started helping me volunteer at the library. She loved it. It took me a bit to get into this one. I didn't like the beginning so much. I mean, the beginning was like okay, and then there was a dip where I was really bored, and then it sort of started climbing back and being more interesting. If you don't know, it's about a castaway named Robinson Crusoe. He ends up on an island, and he's like trying to survive on the island, essentially, is what's going on, the whole book, mostly. And the beginning was interesting before he got to the island, because he's describing himself, and he was a very young, thoughtless youngin'. And then he starts describing all the things that he does at the island to stay alive, like in the first 5 years. And I'm like, this is really dull. And then there's some foreshadowing. There's some other kind of threat happening later in the book that has just kind of been foreshadowed a bit. So that picked up the excitement for me, and I'm enjoying hearing about his adventures on the island. TBR time! For December, I need a really chill month. I seriously need to chill. So I'm planning to. My primary goal is to finish Rhythm of War by, I think it's the 9th? Or is it the 6th? I hope it's the 9th of December, because there's going to be a World Hoppers live stream, and I want to be ready for it. I'm really excited about it. I know Jade from Bedtime Book Room is going to be there. Michael from Michael Nip's going to be there. Jessie May was there. I think Elle's going to be there. Oh my gosh, Leslie! Duh, Leslie was there. So, we're going to be there. Come hang out with us. I'm so excited for this. My second goal is to get as far as possible in The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, because along with the Codex Cantina, Peg from the History Shelf, Victoria, a musical bookworm, the four of us are going to be co-hosting a readathon of this in February and March 2021, and I'm very excited for it. And since I'm like organizing it, I want to have read at least some of it by then. I would like to at least finish the first live stream's worth of content before this read-along starts, because I feel like this book I cannot wing my way through. So yeah, that's my goal. And by the way, if you don't know those 4 channels, I'm sure you do. Peg, I do recommend her channel. And of course my friends, Una and Crypto and Victoria, whose name I can't help singing. So that's 2 things. Other things that I am hoping to read and are more on the back burner but hoping to read would be Hercule Poirot's Christmas. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I was reading Romantic Outlaws for Nonfiction November. I didn't mention that, did I? I'm reading Romantic Outlaws for Nonfiction November. Okay, and now on to Cloak and Dagger Christmas, which is put on by Kate Howe, who's one of my best booktube buddies. I love to support everything that Kate does that I can possibly do so. So even though I don't read a lot of mysteries, that's not because I'm not interested in them. And I would love to read a Christmas mystery for Cloak and Dagger Christmas. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm reading Hercule Poirot's Christmas with Melanie Frenchie, and I'm very excited about it. Next, whatever Michael's Discord is reading, I don't know what his Discord read's going to be yet. I'm hoping it's Piranesi, because I've already read that, and I know it's fantastic, and I want to talk about it with everybody. Also, Dawn Shard. The other option that I may be able to do in December is the Swiss Family Robinson for my Library Classics Club. Robinson Crusoe was actually last month, and I only got halfway through it. We read Robinson Crusoe because I heard that the Swiss Family Robinson, like the family named themselves that because of Robinson Crusoe. There's one more thing, because I'm excited about it. I don't have a name for this or a hashtag or anything, because I'm pretty much just doing it with Victoria. Victoria and I have taken a vow to each other to expose ourselves to like 4.5 to 7 hours of Spanish every week for the next year. We're going to start as soon as her Christmas break starts, and we'll do more during the summers because she will have more time. It's because she's a teacher and she'll be off. Maybe be up closer to 9 would be my hope for myself. I don't know what she's aiming for. So what that means is Duolingo could count. I actually have access to Rosetta Stone through the San Francisco Library. I also have a nice grammar book that I've gotten halfway through twice now, and I would really like to get past that first half. I don't know if you've seen it, but I like to use flags in my books. So what I do is, there are Spanish words on these flags. They're vocabulary words. They're words that I've run across in my Spanish reading, my Spanish watching, whatever. These are some of them fairly old because ever since I started BookTube and really then got into BookTube, I have not been paying very much attention to those flags. And I'm not retaining very much of what's on them. It can also include Spanish TV. It can include time with native speakers. I'm just going to be trying to get lots of Spanish input so that I can be like basically fluent by the end of 2021. If you would like to join Victoria and I in our language learning endeavor, we'll keep you accountable. Let us know. Maybe we'll do like a language chat thing. If you want to join us learning a language of your choice, do it. Join us. Do it. We're focusing on Spanish, but you don't have to. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let's see, what should we talk about in the comments? Talk to me about your December plans. I always appreciate you guys watching these videos, giving them a nice like. If you want to see more from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell notifications if you want to get notifications on your phone whenever I make a new video, and make sure your notifications are enabled. Alrighty guys, I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.